So as a reminder, and I think everyone joining today is well aware, 2023 was a mass reappraisal year under Ohio law that occurs every 6 years. We went out, reviewed every parcel in Franklin County, provided an auditor's tentative value, invited those owners, invited those that did not agree with the value, either an increase or decrease, to participate in a property value review. From there, that established the final value. That final value, 35% of which with the taxing district, is what was used to calculate the property tax bill. And then that kind of brings us to where we are today. Once everyone got their property tax bill and we had the last November election, a lot of people wondering what happened and what was the impact. So ready for the next slide. With just the reappraisal, we would have seen, as you can see on the slide, a pre-levy property tax increase of about 6%. So while values went up on average across the county 41% or 40%, it is not a one-to-one in Franklin County. You'll hear from other counties where there's a 20 mil floor impact under the calculation that it is a little bit more of a one-to-one ratio, but our school districts in Franklin County are not on the floor yet, and so not that one-to-one. However, after the voted levies, so why it is so important for property owners to understand the value of vote, take advantage of the property tax calculator we have in Franklin County, it added an additional 6% on average. So property taxes increased on average 12%. Again, values at 40%, property tax at about 12% post levies. And so want to make sure people understand that one-to-one ratio. Still get emails of saying, I can't believe my property taxes went up 40%. Maybe they did, but oftentimes they're confusing that property value component, not distinguishing it with property taxes. And as we note here, for all class 1 properties, so residential, in 2020, it was average about 185,000, jumped with the reappraisal to 260,000. And then impact on the taxes average. So you were looking about a $280 increase pre-levy, about $550 post-levy. And understand every taxing district is going to be different, but we are still spending a lot of time reminding folks your value can go up, your taxes can go down, your value could go down, your taxes could go up. It is so driven by what is occurring at that taxing district. So ready for the next slide. So again, number one takeaway is that April 1st deadline. For those that participated in a property value review, or for those property owners that weren't really paying attention or engaged until they saw their property tax bill, the Board of Revision is the next opportunity and avenue to seek a valuation change. Property tax concern is not justification for a property value change, but the Board of Revision is the entity that continues to exist. It's the appropriate avenue that if the property owner feels the auditor's value is not reflective of what they would list on the market, or there were features or conditions we weren't aware of since we don't go inside the home, we strongly encourage filing through the Board of Revision. What will be important is completing the form, the DTE1, by that April 1st deadline. I'm told if I say something 3 times, you'll remember it. So I may say it more than 3 times. But that April 1st deadline being the key. On the form, it'll ask for the auditor's valuation, but then ask that property owner, what do you think the valuation should be? That kind of sets the jumping off point of where we would look through Board of Revision, the different programs and avenues that can be pursued. What's also important is providing supplemental documentation. I was just talking to someone last night while I filed. I said, did you provide photos? Well, no. Did you provide a third-party appraisal? No. Did you provide any update other than you just disagree with the value? Nope, that's all I provided. I said, that is not going to lead to a successful change in valuation. We are looking and need some justification as we would go back to the Department of Taxation and say, here's an area and why we were seeking to change. Board of Revision, for those that have never been to it, are the more formal Board of Revision is made up of the Treasurer, the Auditor, Board of Commissioner. But as I mentioned, depending on that change in value that's being sought, if it's a $50,000 or less change in value, in all likelihood, the office will recommend going through our mediation program. opportunity for the property owner to meet with an auditor representative with a third-party mediator serving as that person who will kind of seek and establish an agreement. If it is more than 50,000, it will go through the normal board of. I don't know if that's my volume or so. It sounds like it got muted, so appreciate that. It will go through the more formal board of revision. What is important and where people are asking, why would I pursue the board of revision? It is an avenue for the taxing entity to also engage. So if the concern is if I file and the school district may file counterclaim, you're correct. They are entitled to under Ohio law once there's that filing. They're very active in what is occurring and looking for that information. But again, if you participate in property value review, you got another chance for a bite at the apple. If you did not participate and have concerns now, here's your opportunity, April 1st. Along with that deadline, you can file the DTE-1 online. The auditor's office has also been very active in the community. Ultimately, we're going to be holding 30 walk-in mobile events, but now that we are in March towards that April 1st deadline, while still out there, it is not 30. We are now, I think, in the last 8 that are going to be available before the deadline. Locations, times are on the auditor's website. If you've got a client that has questions, let us know. If they have mobility challenges, we are also happy to go work with them. We want any property owner that feels the value is not fair and equitable to be filing. We want to work with them, make sure they provide accurate information.
They pay for their own advertisement outside of showing time. Gotcha. So city. So
sorry, please mute yourself.
Yeah, they want to.
Unless they're advertising for an April 1st deadline.
Sorry, I don't know who. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Everybody on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are us.
I don't know who that is. All right, I think it's done. Sorry, auditor.
No problem.
Is that how many habits anything?
No,
hopefully everyone remembers April 1st and mobile clinics. They can walk in. You don't have to schedule an appointment. I will tell you, we are seeing show up early.
Part of that. I'll issue that with her. She's always.
I think it's Mr. Myers. Hey, John.
Everybody should have got like an email.
John, can you mute? There you go, John. Thanks. Everyone should. I wanted to be aware. So at the mobile events, we're seeing a lot of participation on the front end. So there may be a little bit of a wait, depending on how your schedule works out. Feel free to come later. And then there's just no line. I was at South London yesterday, and there was one person being helped and 3 members of the office just waiting to provide assistance. So please take advantage of that. Next slide. Along with understanding it's a very bureaucratic process, we also have established a homeowners assistance program. It's a partnership with you all as well as Legal Aid Society to have someone meet with that property owner, talk about the filing, and if they qualify, work through not only the paperwork, but the BOR process. And that one is by schedule, but it is really important. We are trying to make sure the filings are reflective of our community and don't want just the intimidation of a bureaucratic process to hold people back. So strongly encourage, share. There's a homeowner assistance program. If there's someone that you know is of interest, would qualify, and would like to file. Then our last slide, we also brag a lot about the PTAP program, so the Property Tax Assistance Program. It's been around for decades at the county, but it has not been highlighted. We have many partners, including the Treasurer's Office, that has been involved in review of applicants. But the PTAP program, the benefit, it is a one-time opportunity for some tax assistance. One time is the key word there. So if there's change in employment, change in household circumstances, and there's concern about paying the next property tax bill, that's where PTAP would review the application for qualifying individuals and be able to provide some relief. We are now, as bolded in red there, maybe not bolded, but in red, application deadline for the second half tax bill is going to be April 19th. And so encourage, if you've got clients or people you know that may have those concerns, to give PTAP a look, see if they qualify, and get that application in before the deadline. So those are the updates we have. I will remind folks when we are talking property tax, I mentioned the value of your vote. We have an election in less than a week. There are 9 levies or bonds that are on the ballot. 8 of them would result in a property tax increase for the applying property owners that would fall under that taxing district. So encourage people to remember that what they vote on is how has an impact on that taxing district, ultimately their property tax bill. You have not seen a lot of discussion of those levies or bonds, but always try to encourage, we don't want to wait till people see their property tax bill to then ask what happened, what's going on, why am I being impacted. So want to make sure people recognize, share with their clients. So it goes Mifflin Township, Norwich Township, Village of Valley View, Clinton Township, Pleasant Township, Tays Valley Local School District, Madison Plains, and Olentangy Local School Districts all have a levy that would be a increase. Grandview Heights has one, but it's a continuation. So you would pay the same in Grandview Heights as you were already paying. It would not be an increase. With that, the next slide is just questions. Always feel free to email me, Auditor Stinziano at frankcountyohio.gov, or call the office. I'm going to guess we're going to wait till after the treasurer and do all questions together. But as always, appreciate the opportunity to give those updates.
Thank you, Auditor. If there are any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We can move into the treasurer, but I did have a question, Auditor. Is there a way for someone to calculate their taxes on the residential or commercial side?
So we always have a tax calculator, so you can. The challenge with the tax calculator is depending where we are in the cycle. At times, the auditor's office has taken the calculator down as a new administration, and based on feedback, we're keeping it up with the caveat things are going to change depending on what's occurring at the ballot. So you've got the ballot levy estimator. You also have a tax calculator available through the auditor's website as a resource.
Great. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Always great to hear the update from the auditor's office. So let's move in then to Franklin County Treasurer Cheryl Brooks Sullivan. I'll bring up your slides as well. So Orville, Treasurer.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Orville Johns. I am the Chief Compliance Officer at Franklin County Treasurer's Office. And also with me today is our Franklin County Treasurer, the Honorable Cheryl Brooks Sullivan. And we're going to share a few things with you today about what our office provides, functions and some services. Next slide. All right. So as the auditor went through the Board of Revisions and all the purpose that they serve, I just want to talk to you about what happens after their decision is made when it comes to our office. So when a decision is made and it comes to our office, there's two decisions, either approved or disapproved. And if it's approved in our office, you will either receive a credit or a refund. So you have a credit, obviously, that will be provided to you on your next payment bill. And if you receive a refund, we will be sending you out a check in 7 to 10 days. Now, the taxpayer doesn't have to do anything to receive that refund check. We will take care of it, and it will just come to you in 7 to 10 days, as I mentioned. Now, if the decision is denied, then the property owner will receive a bill from our office, and that bill will show up on your next bill, your tax bill. That's sent out twice a year. Next slide. So we also have an amazing budget paper, and it's a free plan that allows our taxpayers to set up monthly payments to pay their taxes. And there are two great reasons to do that. The first is it actually breaks up your payments into manageable payments, which then will allow you to use your debit account from your banking or savings account to pay that bill on the 20th of every month. And it just will allow you to make things a lot more manageable in your life, so you can focus on the finer things of life. And also, just so you know, we have been experiencing higher than normal call volumes lately, obviously because of this is the tax assessments, as the auditor had mentioned. But we also have an amazing customer service team. And so if you have any questions, you can call our office and you will hear on the other side of that phone a friendly voice who's going to be patient and willing to assist you in any way. So if you have any questions, you can just give our office a call at 614-525-3438, and they'll be ready to assist you. And now I would just like to introduce to you our Honorable Treasurer, Cheryl Brooks-Sullivan. She's going to share some fun facts.
Actually, she's not, but that's what the slide says. And that was a nice way to just segue into, so there isn't a lot that goes on in our office after the Board of Revision process, other than what the auditor has already described. About the only thing that happens is we're either given an opportunity to reduce the bill and pay somebody back, or it's disapproved. And that's kind of the end of the road for us as far as Board of Revision process. So what I wanted to talk about today, having lots of relations, and I see a few of my friends on here, a couple of people I know, they're in my Rolodex. And being a realtor myself, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that people ask me about all the time about the office, that there's miscommunications out there and misinformation, and say we can't let's get this out there. So one of the first things is, if you may have individuals who purchase real estate, a customer or a client, and they're a self-taxpayer, they're not escrowed. They get behind in their taxes and they go what we call delinquent quarters. If they go 3 delinquent quarters, which means they're at least 18 months late on paying their taxes now go up for auction in a tax lien sale. We get tons of calls when that happens because people believe that means the house is going into foreclosure, and it's not. So if your clients reach out, your customers reach out, and they say that they're now in a tax lien sale and they're about to lose their house, that's not really 100% accurate. It does mean they're delinquent in taxes, and it does mean that we need to do something pretty rapidly because fees and assessments do add up, and it makes it that much harder to become to get in front of your taxes again. The other thing we hear comes from investors, either realtors that represent investors and people who got their license to buy investment real estate. Buying a tax lien certificate does not mean you're purchasing a piece of property. Buying tax lien certificates means you are purchasing debt. You're putting yourself in a position to pay the back taxes on a property. Everybody who owes back taxes is not necessarily mortgage free. So if you pay back taxes and they were a self-payer, because it takes mortgage companies a while to catch up. If you're escrowed, your mortgage company pays your taxes throughout, whether you're paying your mortgage or not. If you're a self-payer, they may not catch up until you're already a year and a half late, and the certificate could be on the market by then. But people who listen to the 3 a.m. in the morning, buy real estate and get rich, buy real estate with little or no money down, will get a lot of calls about these tax lien certificates. And here in Ohio, we do very few of any individual tax lien certificates. It's legal, but because we put our entire inventory out for bid, we generally get major companies that are willing to buy all of the certificates. Last year's sale was $4.4 million. That means $4.4 million in property tax was not being paid due to delinquency. This company catches us up, and then they turn around and collect the money. So an individual investor who believes that once he buys the tax lien certificate, he's in line to ownership for this property, he may or may not be. He's definitely in line for the debt for the property, though. in order to become the owner of the property in Ohio, you would still have to take the property to a foreclosure process and pay all of the court costs, and then you can put yourself in position to purchase the property. One of the other areas that we oftentimes get calls, or I'll get calls, coming from fellow realtors, has to do with mortgage and do with the closing. And the first thing I like to tell people, we don't get closing documents here. So when there are errors in the closing in terms of how taxes were calculated or distributed, we are not privy to any information that would make us able to assist you with that. We do not get closing disclosure. We don't see any contracts. Generally, the information that is used at a closing comes from a title company calling us to confirm the amount of taxes due. Once the property changes hands, we'll generally get calls from a buyer that will say, I was told at closing that this bill was going to be taken care of. You know, I know the seller escrowed this amount, but I'm being billed for it. We can generally assist someone who's made an overpayment, but if the bill actually hasn't been paid, if all of that was said at closing, but we never received a check, whoever bought that house is going to get that next bill, including the amount of taxes that were previously escrowed. So we can't help them because the law only allows us to bill the current owner. We cannot go back and bill a previous owner once somebody has bought that. When you buy the house, you buy the tax debt as well, if it actually exists. We can help your seller if they overpay because they can prove that they made a payment that wasn't necessary. We can help your sellers, but we can't necessarily help your buyer. Those are just a couple of things that I know as a realtor, and I talk to realtors all the time, that there's questions tend to be running around through the community with some misinformation that we can do more than we can. And as far as what Oracle shared earlier, the budget payment plan, the budget pay plan, help a homeowner establish a monthly payment, but the payment is not based on income or how easy it is for them to pay. It is not based on any kind of guideline other than your bill is due twice a year, in January and in June. It's going to be the amount, if you owe $3,000 for the year, no matter if you take the budget pay plan or not, you still owe $3,000 for the year. First half, you owe $1,500. Second half, you owe $1,500. If you join and you have 10 months to pay, you're going to pay $300 a month. If you join and you have 5 months to pay, you're going to take that $3,000 down to a 5-payment increment. The amount that you pay monthly changes based on what month you join the plan. And it also depends on where you are, whether it's first half or second half. It is not a plan established on your finances or any kind of guideline that makes it less. It's always going to be the same amount, and your monthly installment is going to be based on how many months you allow yourself to divide that payment back. That's another misnomer that we have sometimes. Other than that, it was really good to talk with you all today, and I'll turn it back over to Vincent. If there are any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Treasurer. We'll move now into kind of the question and answer. So if you have questions, please use the raise your hand function as folks start to think. But Treasurer, a question I had, and I have one for the auditor, but outside of the budget pay plan, are there any other services or folks that are behind on their taxes that you all offer, or where would you send someone to assist with that?
Okay, well, the auditor did talk about the PTAP program. There are other programs, but they're not necessarily for a group of individuals that are not going into foreclosure. So another program that we established here in our office called STAR, Sustain, Teach, Advocate for, and Retain. We're assisting homeowners in not losing their properties to foreclosure. It is not a program that, as of yet, assists individuals that are struggling with making a tax payment. Basically, because of limited resource, we went straight to the end of the funnel to catch people before they lose the house. It's generally individuals that have no mortgage and are struggling with just the tax bill itself. There is a program through Impact. They did currently just run out of funding. It will more than, well, I can't say what the federal government will fund, but it's been refunded over, the last few years a couple of times. The Impact program was allocating $10,000 per taxpayer per household. There were no age guidelines. There weren't any income guidelines. The last allocation was based on individuals that could correlate some sense of financial struggle to something that may have occurred during the pandemic. Some sort of effect that had either been on their health or their income or their ability to obtain employment. And it was pretty great, a pretty wide funnel to get through. And again, that program right now is not giving, well, they're still giving out funds, but they're not taking application. I'm not aware of any other standing programs that are assisting with tax payments at this time.
Okay. I would concur with the treasurer's update there.
We do have a question from Scott Repchik, our president. Scott.
Thank you, Vincent. Hey, Michael, I have a question for you. I'm looking at the DTE1 form, and I had a question from one of my clients regarding Section 8. I'm getting in the weeds here a little bit, so bear with me. But the long and short of it is there is a section in here that has the complainant's opinion of value and then the current value under column B, which states full market value. Is that the value you are showing on your existing Franklin County site?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is frustrating when you hear auditor's value and market value.
Right.
Auditor's value is not market value. That is a form prescribed by the Department of Taxation. So they're using those words, and you can't change their form. I'd also suggest that you need to have it, I'm going to say certified. I'm blanking on what you need, but you don't need that as well to file.
Okay. So if I am advising a client that I want them to give their opinion of value, if they leave the current value blank and they don't put in a change of value, does that trigger a non-response in the way of, getting an audience with the auditor's office?
I mean, we love having an audience, so they'll have it. I think we will want the form complete. If you're asking if they leave the auditor's value part blank, we can.
Yeah, it says full market value, so I'm just assuming that that's the number you want us to use, even though
we want the auditor's
nomenclature's off, right? But yeah.
But what's most important, what I would not leave blank, is what the property owner thinks the value should be.
Good. Okay. All right.
The deadline is April 1st.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. That part of it, though, is a little muddy. So thank you very much.
Of course.
So I have a question, Vincent.
Yep. Go ahead, Brittany.
So first of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you for hosting this. You would think that as long as we've been doing Zoom, I knew how to raise my hand on this, but I still don't. So the question is, I don't think it's really a question. I think it's more of a statement for Treasurer. Hi, Treasurer. How are you? More so for the STAR program. That's a program that myself, another colleague of mine, I believe she's on here, Sharon Rigsby, got an opportunity about a year ago to sit and get some information on. Very proud of what you're doing there. I would be interested to see, probably too early to do so now, but just something to maybe put on the radar. I would be interested to see, with the conversations that we're having in the community around folks, seniors in particular, that are saying, now my taxes are higher, right? And my house is paid off. I just can't pay the taxes. I'd be interested to see, maybe it'd be a year from now or whatever that might look like from a review standpoint, if there's an increase in that program, specifically, and I don't know if you guys are tracking it specific to that, but if our seniors are being impacted a lot more, in the community based off of that. So it's just more of a statement, just something, like I said, to keep on the radar.
Comments toward it does mind up to freedom. It does appear that seniors are more impacted. One of the as best as possible, the auditor's office and the treasurer's office attempts to track the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption helps us identify households that may be owned by individuals of a certain age and or they're disabled. With that in there, we can't always state that everybody who has homestead is of a certain age. Outside of that piece of information, it's really hard to determine just looking at our statistics or just looking at our websites where seniors do own the property. Sometimes looking at years of ownership might help. If somebody's had it 20, 30 years, we can pretty much assume that they are of a certain age if they were of a legal age when they purchased it. So both of our offices, all of the teams here at Franklin County, we're looking at beginning to overlap information from other sources like the census data and a lot of the data that the realtors put together. We're going to begin overlapping different types of data so we can begin to not only predict, but become more assertive with certain addresses and certain information, because now we know more than likely this is a senior citizen who lives here. Until we do that, we really can't establish whether or not the majority of individuals that are going through the financial hardship are seniors. The program STAR will begin to get larger. Within the next year or two, we've gone through some work with the prosecuting attorney's office to shore up areas that they were wanting to make sure that we were well established and well supported within the statutes as we go out and go about performing the duties of the program. So you will see that grow further beyond just assisting individuals going into foreclosure to assisting individuals that are struggling with the annual debt as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
And now, Treasurer's got all the facts in terms of kind of the program, the application. One thing we heard during the 2020 try was that older residents are going to be property taxed out of their home. And so we partnered in the auditor's office with the age-friendly initiative to see if we could quantify if that's really occurring. We hear it, but we don't necessarily are able to pinpoint individuals. And in working with that initiative, there weren't overwhelming numbers. Now I get 2020 try is different than the 2023 mass, recent levies, property tax. It isn't apples to apples. But we will continue to track and try and keep quantifying as best we can what those impacts are, if it's, as Treasurer mentioned, a particular age group or not. But in the partnership with the age-friendly initiative, the report they put together, it wasn't we weren't able to really settle on a quantified number that this is the actual impact this process has. So it does remain a to be determined role and impact overall.
And who was the age-friendly initiative through? Was that through the city or?
It's the county. So there is an age-friendly Columbus / county collaborative.
Okay.
Some of the leadership's changed over there. UAAA. But we have a report you can find on the review it.
Thank you so much.
We had a question from Micah.
Are we seeing an increase in tax foreclosures?
Not yet. And we actually still maintain our delinquent tax status is 4.4%. And as of yet, it has not shown up in any, again, we have to take quantitative way that there's an increase in foreclosures either. All we have is as of the end of last year, but we have not seen any monthly increase.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, auditor and treasurer, we have a group of realtors here. How can we be helpful to you as it pertains to your kind of day to day, and kind of any last thoughts for this group? We go to the auditor, then the treasurer, if we'd like.
I was gonna let the treasurer go first since I get to present first. Madam Treasurer.
Sure.
Let's see, anything, just the most, no, actually, I'm really, when I talked with or worked with a resident, a constituent that has had a close relationship with somebody in the real estate industry, a realtor, they tend to know a little bit more about our process than individuals who are, just years away from having dealt with anybody in the profession. So on my end, it appears that you're giving good information prior to purchasing the house. What they experience once they get in the house, if they begin to have problems, there's not much you could have told them ahead of time anyway. So I think you guys are doing a great job. You're educating your buyers, you're protecting them, you're sending them in the right direction for whatever information they may need. But if I can take a rain check on anything you might be able to do going forward in the future, I will definitely come back to the group with that ask, because we are looking to get more information into the community, especially in getting people on the homestead exemption and identifying senior residents. So we will definitely be putting together conversations so that it is a two-way street, because there's a lot you really can help us with, because you're out there. One of the first people that run into homeowners when they become homeowners. So we will look forward to taking good advantage of this relationship. And thank you for the opportunity for today.
And to piggyback on that, April 1st is the deadline for Board of Revision filing. To the extent
When is it, auditor? I'm sorry.
April 1st. April 1st. I think I've said it now 9 times. The second piece, a lot of kind of the concerns you'll hear from clients. The State House has 2 study committees going through the sausage making process. I think to the extent that you have suggestions, ideas, either from the treasurer or auditor side, that we can help coalesce around or advocate. I know the local association may leave it to the state, but it impacts all of us, and it's impacting all of our neighborhoods. And so where there's opportunity to help modernize the homestead exemption, where there's opportunity to make sure older residents are able to live in the right place for them, or that neighborhoods aren't feeling priced out. I think that's something we all hear, either constituents on our end, clients on your end. And so continuing to advocate and hopefully see some real change at the State House this year would be fantastic. But they are both in committee stages. Met with State Senator Michelle Reynolds, who's chairing the initial committee. She suggested that they're going to have a report out in the next couple of weeks, legislation to follow. Then there's a bipartisan committee that was created by the budget. And so where there's pain points, I think there is avenue to at least highlight those and seek appropriate solutions as well. So to the extent of working with Treasurer's Office, the Auditor's Office, out and about, that would be, I think, a great avenue moving forward as well.
Well, great. Again, Treasurer, Auditor, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. Great information. If any folks have any questions, please feel free to shoot them to me, and I'm happy to connect you with either the Auditor or Treasurer. That concludes our kind of webinar meeting here today. So we'll give you 15 minutes back to your day. But thanks again, and look forward to the next one. So take care.
Everyone.
So